Hey, welcome back. So today we're working on the Gymkana 994 and we have a calibration and a cutting issue where it's like cross communication. So I reached out to Keyline and have the solution, but I want to make a video on this because I've encountered this once before. And I just want to make a video to help other people if they have this situation. So here is the test key we use when we have the Gymkana, like in your box. And so we have this test key. So I guess the situation was I was using this the other day and the Gymkana pulled code correctly, but then it cut two incorrect keys back to back on a Honda and also on a Toyota when I use the test keys to kind of see like what the situation is. So let me get to better view for this and I'll show you and explain, and then I'll go through the process. So let's go ahead and look at the key. So here is the test key with the code that the Gymkana pulled correctly. This is in the box. So I had it decode, it pulled correctly, shows codes at the top. So it decoded A-OK. But then when I went to cut it, it made the mistake. So let's go ahead and look. So if we look at this key, use my finger, the blue background. So when I went to cut it, it made the mistake. So let's go ahead and look. So if we look at this key, use my finger, the blue background, see how it's cut good on one side, but then it's shorter on the other side. Let me flip it. See how it's shorter on this side, but it's more of a point on this side. And then I cut another one just to see maybe like if it's a fluke. So if I line them up, let me do that so it's uniform. So you see this side, it's nice. It has those ridges on the front. But then if I flip it over, it's not as defined, it's not as pokey. But if I flip it to show like mix match, line them up and see the difference. See the difference up here in here. Basically it dropped down on only the left side for cutting. So when I had it in there, it cut the right side fine, but the left side was very low. I even noticed that on a Honda key. And then when I pulled the code again on the Honda key, it registered this tip as a 2 and this one as a 1 after I cut it. So everything dropped down by 1. So it was like a 2, 6, 6, 4, 4, 2, 2, and like, whoa, what the heck? But the other side was fine. So that's why I just stopped using. I had manual machines. So it's good to have those skill sets, but you know, I want to fix the Gymkana. So what I did is I reached out to Keyline and said, hey, this is a situation. I gave them very clear, explicit details and like, oh, just check the calibration, check the tracer. Okay, cool. So got another tracer, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to, one, roll it on the table, make sure it's nice and straight. So when you roll it, you're going to see, like in my other videos, as long as that is uniform with the rest of it, you're good. It's a brand new tracer, but it's nice and centered. If it's bent, it's going to be rolling wiggly as you roll it on a flat surface. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to calibrate and basically test and check and basically do a reset. So let's go ahead and get started on that. Okay, so I pulled out the tracer and let's go ahead and watch. So here is see the difference? This one has weebles wobbles. So it looks very minute. See how it undulates like that? It's just up and down because it's bent. There you can see it pronounced. Can't see it there. So that was in there. So let's go ahead and put that to the side. Let's grab the good one, the new one, and we roll it. Perfect, centered. And yes, you can go back and you can bend these. And then you check it. It's kind of ghetto, but it works. Saves you some money. But once you have another misread key, because you put the wrong key in, the wrong year, it will just bend again and be more severe because it's damaged metal. So you got to be careful. Let's go ahead and do this. And I guess side note is I had a new tech using the machine. And yeah, so that's where you want to know the key differences, like the inserts for Toyotas and Lexus. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into this and start and finish the calibration. Tools we'll need, I guess I'll make it, is your tracer. You'll need the T100. I have two just because obviously your tracers. You'll need your Allen key that works the jaw and that works the top section. You're gonna need this little baby. Make sure it's nice and clean. See how it's brushed like chrome almost? If you have a bunch of like weather conditions, you know, this is a mobile van, that rust corrosion really impacts the electrical contact of that. So let's make sure that's nice and clean. Same thing for your T100s or T00s. Make sure they're nice and clean and brushed. And before I get started on the first option of the calibration, that's pretty good. It's 1-1. I've been told by Keyline that you want it within, I think it was 3 to 5 plus or minus. So it's pretty centered. So it's good. Looks like it was just the bent tracer which caused all these problems. Let's go ahead and fix it though. So you want to take notes of these numbers. Write it down on a piece of paper so you can see the improvement and more centered. Okay, so we just finished the 3 steps of calibration. We're going to use this as a test key. We're going to decode it as a Toyota 4Runner. We're going to see if it pops up with this code. That means it calibrated correctly. And then we're going to cut another key and see if it matches, if it's correct. So let's do this. Okay, so it pulled the correct code like you see at the top. But we also want to look at the pattern and make sure. Look at the pattern. Yes, that is correct. Cool, let's go ahead and cut this test key. Okay, so we're done with the calibration, all 3 steps. And I even went over the key a second time just to make sure, make sure that Gymkana is working. So to recap, everything looks good now. I'm happy, I'm excited. So the issue was I was cutting and the Gymkana is like, oh, we're just gonna cut short on one side. See how it's a very defined point here, but then it's kind of subtle here. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. Maybe I put it in wrong or something like that. Nope, I tried again and I got the same results. And then I decoded it and it was off, like after I cut it. So I'm like, oh, that's weird. So what I did is I went to the test key, which came with the Gymkana, and it pulled the code, but not after it's cut because it's a different cut now. It showed a different value here, but only cut bad on the one side, but not the other side. Same thing for a Honda turnkey, very odd. So I talked to Keyline, they said, hey, you know, go ahead and calibrate this. Check the tracer. The tracer was bent like if you saw in the video earlier. So I calibrated everything, cleaned it, used this as a test key to decode. It decoded correctly. It got all the little points and the number at the top. Great. Then I put in another test key. Get that. Covalent. And it decoded and cut correctly. And you have the point here and the point there. It's very defined, nice. You will have this more pronounced tip because this is like an X-Horse keyblade for like a flip key, and this is a different manufacturer. This is them. So slight variations, but when I measure, it's the same. So that's great. So I fixed the Gymkana just by recalibrating and checking and paying attention. So what caused the problem is a bent tracer, and that really threw everything off. So bent tracer caused all my problems, and it cost me about 3 test blades and then 3 inventory keys, which I was able to fix. I had replacements, but it wasted my time. So that's where you want to make sure that you know what keys you're putting in the correct setting and the correct year option, so you don't damage that tracer that ruins your day. Other than that, hope this has been helpful, and I will see you guys next time. See ya.